Hello, hello, hello. Anybody there? Hello, hello, hello. Hey, this is Warren Redlick. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, first of all, to moderators Mark Plott, Mark Potocnik, and Jim Whitehead for helping out with the channel. And before I get into it, what we're going to talk about is this tweet. I think this was a reply to one of my YouTube videos. And this guy Alex said, "No way Tesla stock is going to go below $800 a share. Never going to happen in a million years." Okay, never going to happen in a million years. There's a problem that humans have evaluating small probabilities. This is a fundamental issue. And to be clear, I think Tesla stock is going to $5,000 a share or higher. My my bear case is like $2,000 a share. Tesla stock's trading around $190 a share now. So going out to 2030 and beyond, $2,000 a share, $5,000 a share. It depends on a lot of things that could happen. But just plain and simple, just on the battery revenue model, assuming we never get robotaxi, we never get bot, we never get AI training as a service, that's where we're at. Todd, I haven't decided about Investor Day yet. I'm probably going to drive out there. I don't have an invite yet, but I'm probably going to drive there anyway. Take the Model X Plaid, another Plaid Venture, whatever. So, just again, I wanted to thank the moderators. I want to mention the merch. Discriminate Cogitandi. This means critical thinking. I have a bunch of t-shirts at elonbits.com. There's the new Turn Impossible into Late shirt. I love this one. That's really more of a SpaceX shirt, but it's a Tesla shirt too. The Tesla Man t-shirt. I love this shirt. In premium, there's two different fabrics on most of my shirts. This is the premium fabric, the royal blue. I just absolutely love this shirt. My daughter helped design the logo. And the Tesla Air shirt. This is one of the most popular shirts on the site. We can all feel a little bit more like Tesla Airs as the stock goes up. elonbits.com for the t-shirts, and there's the stainless steel water bottle as well. This is the TSLA water bottle. Why isn't it Tesla on that one? That one says ELON, but I got it backwards, so I'm not going to fix it. It says TSLA, not Tesla, because Tesla is trademarked, but TSLA is a stock ticker and can't be trademarked. And it's the Elon stainless steel water bottle, not the Elon Musk stainless steel water bottle, because that would be an identity. Something or other. I don't even really understand it. So elonbits.com for the merch. And I'm going to be doing a second live stream starting in about 57 minutes on warrenredlick.locals.com. There's a link pinned in the chat. There's a link in the video description below. I'm going to talk about the Chinese balloon. It's more political. I'm not going to be talking about Tesla or SpaceX. And so if you're interested in my critical thinking, discriminate cogitandi is Latin for critical thinking. If you're interested in critical thinking about news topics, that's what I typically talk about on the Daily Lie. So I want to go back to this. No way Tesla's going to go below $100. So here you go. This is a bear case for Tesla stock for 2023. This is not where I think Tesla stock is going long term. This is what if we have a bad year? What if the year goes poorly? And this is volume of 1.8 million, which is they hit their guidance for vehicle deliveries for 2023. You can imagine that if something goes wrong, they might fall short of their delivery guidance, right? This is what they said they were going to do. If they fell short and it was 1.6 million vehicles delivered, it could be even worse. I've got average selling price of basically 44,500. I think the average selling price, Zach Kirkhorn guided to 47,000 plus, closer to 50,000. But if it's a bad recession, if the economy tanks, if there's all kinds of problems, then you could see this is not impossible. Russia uses a tactical nuclear weapon. There's an earthquake that takes down the Shanghai Gigafactory. There's a lot of small probability. What I'm going to get to here is there's a lot of small probability events that can happen that can cause really big changes in stock price. And the idea that, as Alex puts it, that there's never going to happen in a million years. We just saw the stock fall from 400 to 100. And we just saw the stock quarter. But we're at 190. The stock could quarter again. Just saying, we don't know. Is it unlikely? Yeah, I think it's unlikely. Do I think it's unlikely to go below 100 again? Yeah, I think it's unlikely, but I don't think it's like 0%. It might be 5%. It might be 2%, but it's not 0%. We just went through a massive collapse in the stock price. Let me go back to this. You can see in this scenario, vehicle revenue is $80 billion. Figure the gross margin falls. At that average selling price, gross margin's down to 15%. You got a gross profit of $12 billion. Figure energy doesn't really scale as much as we hope for. This is still nearly double. So energy storage deployed nearly doubles to 12 gigawatt hours, and you get $500 million per gigawatt hour, and you get another $6 billion in revenue, and you end up with total gross profit of $12.5 billion, which is, pretty good, right? The net profit is 60% of that, say, so you get $7.5 billion in net profit. You end up with earnings per share of $2.38, which is a significant drop from 2022. 2022 was over $4 a share. And if you give Tesla a price earnings ratio of 25 at that point, now keep in mind, at this point, we're not growing on a profit side of the company. We're actually shrinking on the profit side of the company. So this gets you to $60 a share, and that's sort of like a standard Wall Street valuation. No, I'm not saying, Brian, that we should manifest this situation. I'm saying that the reason why this is important is this is an opinion. I'm not qualified to make this opinion, but I'm going to say it anyway, to have this opinion or state this opinion. One of the reasons the stock price fell as much as it did, from 400 down to 100. One of the reasons it rose to 400, one of the reasons it fell to 100 is margin buying and other risky practices. People are asking about buying the funds TSLL or TSL or something like that. These are funds that overweight Tesla somehow. I think they borrow to finance buying extra Tesla stock. These are all risky strategies, and they accelerate the rise. But then when there's a fall and people get margin called or people get certain options, there's certain pressures in the options. I don't even understand the options market, but as I understand it, when the stock price falls, there's options pressures that cause the stock price to fall more. So since Tesla is very commonly bought on margin, there are a lot of strategies like this where people are playing option strategies. They're playing, you have shorts on the other side of it, and the short squeezes can accelerate the ups. So this makes Tesla a very volatile stock. So just my opinion, okay, I just buy and hold. I did play one option game with Tesla recently. I bought 5 options. The stock price was around $160 a share. It's out in June of 2024. The strike price is $350, so it's still out of the money. But I am up on that purchase, but that was just a game, and that's like less than 1% of my portfolio. So I'm just playing a little game. But I don't recommend that as a significant part, like less than 1% of my portfolio, right? So when you hear people saying they're going to buy on margin, let me hit the problem with buying on margin. In order to get a significant impact from buying on margin, you have to use a lot. If you only use 1% of your account on margin, let's say you have $100,000 of Tesla stock, and you borrow 1% of that on margin, so you add and you buy another $1,000 worth of shares. Now you're up to $101,000 in Tesla stock instead of $100,000 in Tesla stock. Plus, you owe $1,000 on your margin. So if Tesla stock goes up a lot, you've gained, but you've only added 1%. So doing margin at 1% is not a significant gain, and it's not a significant risk. If you did like 25% margin, then you would go from $100,000 to $125,000 worth of Tesla stock. And if Tesla stock goes up a lot, you've gained a lot more. But now you're at much greater risk that the stock falls enough that your brokerage says, hey, we got a margin call. You got to sell some Tesla stock to pay off this margin loan. Or you start feeling pressured that you need to. And you're much more vulnerable to dips. And when a bunch of people buy on margin, it makes the stock. It's almost like my plea is, look, I love Tesla. I think life would be better for all of us if the stock was a little less volatile. And one way the stock could be less volatile is if fewer people bought on margin. That's my opinion. Okay. If you buy on margin and other people are shorting, then the ups are going to go up faster and the dips are going to go down faster. That's what you're going to see. That is the cold hard reality. And if you play options games, again, you play all these games, that these are going to increase the volatility of the stock. And that's my opinion, completely unqualified to say so. That's my opinion as to one of the reasons why the stock is so volatile. So I want to show you. I think I finished this. Yeah. So you get a share price of 60. Now, if the stock were to fall, if the Wall Street valuation, if this scenario comes to pass, and the stock falls as it probably should, not from my perspective, because I'm still looking out to 2030. I still see $5,000 a share. I think the stock's worth $1,500 or more today. based on what it's going to grow to in 2030, right? I'm not saying this is the actual value of Tesla stock at this point, because this isn't a bad recession and the recession will end and things will go back and things will go back up. There's small probabilities that we're going to have a global thermonuclear war and then none of this matters, right? There's small probabilities that really bad things happen that greatly delay Tesla's growth or get in the way of Tesla's growth. But I'm, very, very confident, maybe overconfident, that Tesla's going to go to $2,000, $5,000, $10,000 a share out in the 2030s, right? So I think the real value of Tesla stock is not driven by these short-term Wall Street style valuations, but a lot of Wall Street investors follow this kind of Wall Street style evaluation. There's a lot more of them than there are of me and people like me. And so this can move the stock. And if the stock falls below 100, the stock falls to 80, if the stock falls to 60 on natural valuation, as it's going down, the people who bought on margin, who said, well, I'm not getting enough for 2% margin, I'm not getting enough for 5% margin, I'm going to go 20% margin, or I'm only going to do 10% margin. Well, the people who went 25% margin get selling pressure, and the stock price falls more because of their selling pressure. And then the guy who's at 20% gets a margin call. And then the guy at 15%, and now you're at 10%, and maybe you decide, if you only did 10%, you didn't gain that much. That's the thing. The notion of margin is, well, I'm going to put on margin, I'm going to get some extra out of it. And the margin selling pressure could push it below $60 a share. In this scenario, it could push it below $60 a share. So it's just my opinion. I've never bought on margin. It's my opinion that buying on margin, the gain is not that much and the risk is too high. That's my simple pitch. If you're going to play, now if you play options, like my own take on this is, look, if you're going to play those games, then buy options. I don't like options. I don't recommend buying options. Buy long out of the, what I did. I bought, like there's other people have all these option strategies. My option strategy is simple. Bet a very small part of your portfolio, like 1% or less, on crazy options that are somewhat unlikely to succeed, but when they do, you get a big payoff, right? If you want to gamble, that's how you gamble. And my honest advice is don't even do that. And if your goal is to increase your holding of Tesla stock or increase the value of your Tesla stock portfolio, I would say a much better strategy. And I just had this conversation with a friend who's interested in playing these games. He's asking about buying these TSL or TSLL funds that are 110% Tesla or 125% Tesla. The gain just isn't that much. And the risks, that there's an expense ratio that you're paying. So, all right, you get 10% more in your Tesla stock, but you're paying 10% of your assets over 10 years in expense ratio. And then you have the risk that, what if they get margin? I mean, could they get margin called? I have no idea. I don't know enough about those funds to know whether they could get the equivalent of a margin call. And do you know? I don't know. How do we know that? I don't know the answer to that question. So the right path forward is to say, and this is boring, maybe, but it's like, how much money are you spending that you could make relatively easy changes in your lifestyle and spend less? So, like, there's my kitchen back here. I cook a lot. I don't go out to eat a lot. I do go out and eat. My friends call me up and we go out somewhere and I'll eat a little bit, or I go on a date and I eat out. But generally speaking, I cook for myself at home. I make stuff at home. Saves a lot of money. I don't smoke cigarettes. I don't vape. I drink very little. When I go out, I drink almost nothing. I have some liquor. I drink premium rum. When I drink good stuff, but I drink very little of it. I go out to my favorite places and I get a bottle of Pellegrino for $4. And that's like enough liquid for like 3 or 4 drinks. And I'll drink Pellegrino. I think it makes me look cool. I don't particularly have a need to drink alcohol. I'll have a shot of rum. I'll have a shot of Tito's on the rocks. If I'm out at a Japanese place, I'll have sake. But not much and not often. I'm typically a 1-drink guy. My friends think I'm boring. Okay. I think I'm saving money and enables me to hold more Tesla stock. Right? Do you want to buy and hold Tesla stock, or when you go out to restaurants, do you spend $50 for dinner for yourself, $100 for a couple? Do you spend $150 or do you spend $20? You can go out and have a pretty nice meal for $25, $30. You can. A lot of people don't. A lot of people spend a lot more money. Now, like, I made a particularly bad financial decision buying a Model X Plaid. Like, I probably shouldn't have bought the Model X Plaid, but I can afford to buy a Model X Plaid, so I did. I'm not saying it was a good choice. It was probably a bad choice, and I would have more Tesla stock if I didn't do that. Um, but uh, yeah, uh, I think that you make lifestyle decisions. Don't smoke. Don't drink much. Don't drink or don't drink much. Um, don't spend so much going out to eat. Buy an appetizer instead of an entree. Don't order that dessert. And these are hard ones for me because when I am out, I want the dessert. I'm pretty good about ordering an appetizer instead of an entree. I am pretty good about that. Can you make conscious choices in your life where you spend less money and that enables you to have more money to make investing decisions? Because if you spent less money, you could buy more Tesla stock, right? And then let's just take this a step down the road and say, all right, where do I want to be in? You pick your year. I'm going to say 2030 is my year. I'm making it up. It doesn't have to be 2030, but I'm making it up. My view is when you get to a certain point and you say, all right, I'm done. And I'm just going to lock this in and I'm going to live I'm going to invest conservatively now. I'm going to live off my investments, right? I'm not saying I'm ever going to do this, but this is hypothetical. Okay. How much do you need? If you bank $1 million and you conservatively earn 5% a year on average on your investments, so you draw 5% a year to live off of. You're getting $50,000 off your investments. Now you're getting $2,000 a month off Social Security, and you got your Medicare's paid for at this point in life, whatever. Maybe you already own your home now. You already own your car outright, so you have less payments. That might be enough for you. I'm already past that. Oh, but let's say you get to 2 million. Okay, I'm not at Medicare or Social Security. I'm just saying, I'm past the million point. Let's say you get to 2 million. I'm not going to tell you more than that. You get to 2 million, 5% is $100,000 a year. You can't live on $100,000 a year. Plus, you're getting Social Security, $2,000, and that's another $24,000. Your Medicare's covered, so your health insurance costs are less. Your home's paid off. Your car's paid off. You can't live on that. 2 million is not a bad target. Like if you can get to 2 million, you're okay. My target's a lot higher than 2 million. I'm just saying, right? And so this idea that you're going to live cheap for now, and at a certain point in life, you're going to get to where, okay, I can enjoy it a little bit. I can do a little bit more. So you get to 5 million. Now you can spend $250,000 a year. If you can't live well on $250,000, if you can't be happy on $250,000 a year, I don't know what your goals are in life. And my target's more like 10 million, 20 million, 50 million. At $10 million, if you have $10 million banked, you spend $500,000 a year. But I'm just saying, if you set a reasonable target of saying, I just want to get to 1 million, right? If you just get to 1 million, which, look, if you have $100,000 in Tesla stock now, I believe you're going to be at 1 million in 2030, right? So how do you get to 50,000 in Tesla stock? How do you get to $100,000 in Tesla stock? Well, you can play games with TSSL and TSLL, and you can play games with margin, but those are only going to make incremental differences. They're not going to help that much. But if you spent like $50 less, let's say you spent $100 less a week, that's $5,000 in a year. Right now, that's 25 Tesla shares, right? Do that for 10 years. You can see where it goes. Like if you can just make those decisions, I'm going to identify something that I spend money on, like one fewer latte a week, right? Just like identify some things you're doing. Make the coffee at home. Skip Starbucks. Make your coffee at home. Like I don't drink coffee. I drink coffee very rarely, I should say. I did actually have a coffee last night, but I generally speaking don't drink coffee. But you have whatever habit you have that you're concerned about and you want to do better at. Figure out how can I save $5 a week here? How can I save $10 a week here? How can I save $20 a week here? Can you save a little bit of money here, there, whatever? Build that up, right? And then all of a sudden, are you adding $5,000 in Tesla stock a year? Are you adding $10,000 in Tesla stock a year? That's the path. That's honestly the path. And the higher income you have, I've got friends who are spending go out and spend $200 on dinner, not every, and more than once a week. Go out and have 10 drinks at a bar. At least drink at home first, and drink less. Drink more at home. Go out to the bar and have 4 drinks, and in between those drinks, have a glass of water or something. But, people have their behaviors, and especially when it's something like alcohol, when it's something like it's tobacco, when it's something like vaping, when it's an addiction problem, it's harder to deal with that. Oh, yeah, I didn't even mention like buying marijuana. Like, how much are you spending on marijuana, on edibles? Are you buying other drugs? How do you manage that to like minimize your spending and, live a more simple life? I mean, like my life, I've gotten my life really simple and I'm really happy. Find hobbies that are fun that don't cost a lot. I go to country bars and I go line dancing. The line dancing's free. And I buy a bottle of water for $4. I spend like $5, $10 on water. Right? I don't spend, $50 on drinks. I spend like 5 or $10 on water. And sometimes I'll have a snack, especially at Hurricane Creek. Hurricane Creek, Melbourne. Props to you guys. Cocoa Beach Fish Camp Grill. Two of my favorite places to dance. So I think that's the path. If your goal is to get to that path. So I'm sorry, I wanted to go further here. I want to show you like the probability. So I made some graphs. These are not real. They're all starting at $190 a share, which is where we are today. Oh, I need to put this up. Let's see. Okay. They all start at $190 a share, which is where we are today. And they all get up in the ballpark of $5,000 a share, $4,000 a share. These are I just honestly used random numbers on a spreadsheet to show what stock movements could look like. So here's one scenario. The stock goes up, it's sort of rising, but for a long time, it just sort of like it can't break through. And you have like this one peak up here, which I think in this particular model, this is like $1,200 a share. And then it dips down to like 365. And this is my view. Like, we can't know how the stock price, what we can say is stock price doesn't have a smooth curve. We see these bumps. So I just modeled it a few different ways to just give you an idea. This is what the bumps look like. And you can't forecast it. And you at the end of all these graphs, you're going to be closer to $5,000 a share. But the path is hard. Elon said this. We can't know the path. We can't know how we're going to get there. Right? I'm confident we're going to get there at some point. I mean, there's always a chance it doesn't happen, but I'm confident we're going to get there at some point. But you can just see, but here's a drop. There's a big drop here. This is like a 1/3 or 1/4 drop. Right here. There's another pretty decent drop here. Even along the way up here, you get some pretty significant drops. Okay, that's one example. Here's another one. Again, starting at 190, we end up at $9,000 a share with this one. We peak over around $10,000 a share. But look at the drop here. From like 10,000 down to like 5,000. Here's another drop from like a little over 3,000 down to like 1,000. This is what stock price movements do look like. So the idea that you can't have that big drop because, well, it's up at this level now. No, you can have these big drops. They can go up and they can go down. Here's a third one. These are just like random. These are just random charts. Nothing special. You can see stock price stays suppressed for a while, and then all of a sudden goes up a little bit of dip. It goes up. It hits 3,000 and falls back to 1,500. These are all just, my rough attempts using random number generators on a spreadsheet to come up with examples. And you can see this stuff happens. So the idea that you're gonna buy on margin and it can't fall to 100. Yeah, it can. We just saw it. We just saw it fall to 100. Why do you think it can't happen again? The Federal Reserve says, "Oh, we see some more inflation on the horizon. We're raising the rates another 50 points instead of 25." And macro overreact, and then we think we're going to raise it 50 basis points again, and the macro community overreacts, and then the margin selling pressure begins, and then there's a bad quarter. Q1 underperforms, like by Wall Street's perspectives, not ours, right? And Elon buys a porn site, and now he buys a belly dancing website. We have the belly overhang. Just who knows? You can have different theories about why the stock went down. You can believe in the Twitter overhang, right? You can't know that Elon isn't going to buy some other stupid thing. If you believe in the Twitter overhang, you can't be confident that Elon isn't going to do something else you don't like. You're investing in a company run by Elon Musk that's very dependent on Elon's behavior, right? If you believe that, I don't believe it's dependent on Elon's behavior, but if you believe the company is dependent on Elon's behavior, then there's certainly a chance Elon's going to do something else you don't like, or that the market isn't going to like, and the stock's going to fall again. Anything can happen. Russia could use a tactical nuke in Ukraine. It could be a trade war between the United States and China. That could lead to consequences. But you just can't know how many different things can happen. So to go back to this, No way Tesla's going to go below $100 a share. Yeah, it could happen. Never going to happen in a million years. Yeah, it could happen. It could happen this year. Could. I don't think it's going to. I am optimistic that we're up at 190. We'll fly. But the one thing I can say, like I don't make short-term stock price predictions except this. Stock prices fluctuate. They go up and they go down. And no one is capable of genuinely predicting short-term stock. No one can genuinely explain short-term stock price movements, and no one can genuinely predict them. You can't explain them if you can't predict them. And if anyone could predict short-term stock price movements, if you could predict short-term stock price movements with 52% accuracy, 52% of the time you're right, 48% of the time you're wrong, and with an equal amount of gain and loss, you'd probably be a trillionaire by the end of the year. If you were confident and you demonstrated, you proved to yourself, and you believed, and you consistently delivered 52% accuracy, not 90% accuracy, just 52% accuracy, you'd probably be a trillionaire by the end of the year. Certainly in 10 years. If you had 55 or 60% accuracy, be off the charts. And the reason we know no one can predict short-term stock price movements is because there are no trillionaires. And if no one can predict short-term stock price movements, then no one can explain them. You can explain, well, you can go with your explanation. Like, I think margin selling, I think it was macro and margin selling pressure. Am I more right than Barry Glack, who says it's the Twitter overhang? I don't know. Most people seem to believe him and not me. Who's right? I don't know. I'm not using that to say I can predict what the stock price is going to be next week. I can predict it's going to fluctuate. That's not really a particularly bold prediction, right? I can predict it can fall to 60. I'm not saying it will fall to 60. I think my bull case, it goes to 400 this year, right? I mean, anything could happen. It could go to 60 and 400 this year. It could do both. I don't know. So I want to be clear about that. Let me just again mention, it's about 1:30 now. It's about a half hour into this live stream. At 2 p.m., which is a half hour from now, 2 p.m. Eastern, I'm going to switch to the daily live. There's a link in the video, in the chat. There's a link in the video description below. I'm going to talk about the Chinese balloon, which I think is a distraction. I'll talk about that. I talk about politics on that platform. I don't talk about that politics here on Twitter. And really quick, check out the t-shirts. Turn Impossible to Late. It's my current favorite t-shirt. I haven't gotten it yet. Tesla Man, like super favorite. I have this one. I wear this all the time. I absolutely love this shirt. It's comfortable. The color scheme. This is like the perfect shirt. I buy this shirt. ElonBits.com. Buy this shirt. You're gonna buy one shirt, buy that shirt. In premium fabric, royal blue. This is the Tesla Air shirt. Love that shirt as well. Tesla Airs are coming back in style. Please support me on the Locals platform. Please support me on Patreon. Please join as a YouTube channel member. But I'm going to turn to the chat now, and we're going to look at the questions in the chat. We're going to go into that. And I forgot to mention also the TSLA stainless steel water bottle. I seriously believe in this stuff. I wear my shirts. I use the stainless steel water bottle. I have a coffee mug with that as well. I need to use the coffee mug more. I don't drink a lot of coffee at home. So yeah, ElonBits.com. Links to everything in the description below. Jim Whitehead says, when I bought Tesla in 2018, almost everybody thought I was really stupid buying at $295 on average. I think that's pre-split, or is that pre-two splits, Jim? I think that's that's like 15x, right? I think that's before two splits. How am I? Brian asks, how am I? I'm doing really well. Thank you for asking that question. I am in great physical shape. My friends are noticing I'm looking buff, Ooh, big, not really the biceps, but like my shoulders got bigger and my waist is actually a little smaller. I'm joking that I have a six-pack. I have six-pack abs. There's just this belly fat that covers it, but I have six-pack abs. They're there. The six-pack's there. But yeah, I mean, I haven't lost weight. I'm trying to eat healthier. I'm getting myself checked out, making sure I'm in good cardio health. I get a ton of exercise. So what are my expectations for Investor Day from Evan? I think we're going to learn a lot more about the Generation 3 vehicle, and I think we're going to probably get Master Plan Part 3. I think the biggest question for Tesla's future, and not just Tesla's future, but really for this future of the transition to sustainable energy, the future of sustainable energy, the biggest question is, can the world produce enough battery materials to deliver the volume of batteries that are needed to accelerate the transition to sustainable energy? if we don't produce enough batteries, we can't do it, and we need the battery materials to be able to do that. So I think that that's going to be part of it. Is how does Tesla plan to accelerate the mining and production of lithium, or the extraction and production of lithium, the extraction and refining of lithium for batteries, the extraction and refining of nickel for batteries, probably other materials that are needed like manganese, or I think like the graphite doesn't seem like it's a hard thing, but maybe producing graphite in significant volumes is actually a challenge, or maybe it's phosphates. I don't know. I think there's all these things that are going into the batteries. And then, what's the plan long term for 4680? What's the plan for lithium iron phosphate? I don't know how much of that Tesla's going to tell us, but I think they're going to give us some guidance about the long term future, not what's going to happen in 2023, but what's the long term plan to scale manufacturing. And we've gotten hints. Elon has pretty much said they're going to shoot for 500 gigawatt hours of 4680 cell production in Giga Nevada. And they're probably going to shoot for 500 gigawatt hours of cell production in Austin, Texas. And my gut hunch is they're planning, that's not necessarily by 2030. And I think they're also planning on producing other battery cells. Like they want to do lithium iron phosphate. Are they going to incorporate lithium iron phosphate in 4680? It seems like it. Or are they going to say, you know what, we got enough nickel on the line, and nickel's just fundamentally better, and the LFP battery chemistries aren't that much cheaper. We're just going to go everything nickel. Who knows? So those are the big ones. I don't think they're going to talk about Cybertruck much at Investor Day. When am I going to Starbase again? I'm going to Starbase for the orbital launch, the orbital test launch. Have I seen how in Australia they open up I've seen that Tesla has opened up supercharging to non-Teslas in some places, and I expect them to open up superchargers to non-Teslas in America and other places. I think that it won't have that much of an impact because most other vehicles just aren't that good. There just aren't that many of these other vehicles, and they're not that good, and they have other places that they charge, and they're used to charging in other places. It'll probably mean a little bit more revenue for Tesla. I just don't think it's that big of a deal. All right, one second. All right, one second. Sorry about that. Life intrudes once in a while. All right, let's see the other questions or comments. Let's see what we got here. On the earnings call, a question was about a 25K or 35K dollar for investor, and Elon says he doesn't want to steal any thunder. They specifically said that that they're going to talk about the Gen 3 vehicle, which I want to be clear about this. There's no 25K or 35K car. First of all, Model 3 is already a 35K car. They're selling it for $33,000 in China. Okay. You think they couldn't sell it for 30 and still make a little bit of a profit? They could. They already have a $30,000 car. And they're not doing a $25,000 car because that's not a big enough drop. Tesla doesn't make small jumps. They make big jumps. The next generation vehicle is going to be a $20,000 car, maybe even an $18,000 car. It's going to be a Corolla killer. That's what's going on there. Is it a bit steamy? It does feel like the camera. Bill says it's a bit steamy. It does feel like my camera is a little bit cloudy or something. I'm not sure what happened there. I'm not sure why the lighting's a little weird. How far will the orbital test flight make it? The orbital flight test is the booster is supposed to come back and do a soft water landing, land vertically, and then fall over in the Gulf of Mexico, not far from the launch site. And then what do I expect from Highland? Okay, this is another thing. There's a video by Connecting the Dots that talks about Project Highland, and Connecting the Dots is not the only one to talk about Project Highland. And there's this, people have elevated this idea that there's some massive change coming in Model 3. That's like hidden and secret and so on and so forth. And look, Tesla has been improving Model 3 since they made it. If you watch Joe Justice, they make like, I don't know, 5, 10 changes a week. I think Sandy Monroe says the same thing. They're constantly updating the vehicles that they make. I think it's pretty likely and pretty obvious. Um, I think it's pretty likely and pretty obvious that Model 3 is going to go to single piece castings front and rear, just like Model Y did. I don't think that's a big secret. Like, I don't see why people think that's such a big surprise. Tesla is always innovating on manufacturing, always doing better on manufacturing. At some point, do they want to manufacture Model 3 at a lower cost? Yeah. When they have enough gigapresses and they're able to get enough gigapresses from Idra, then it would probably make sense to switch to front and rear castings on Model 3. Does Model 3 need some kind of big time refresh? No, because they're constantly refreshing it. Will there be some bigger change? Maybe. But and you know, is it possible that they're doing something bigger than that? Yes. And that's one of the reasons why we might see deliveries dip a little bit this year in the short run is if they shut down Model 3 lines for a month. Let's say in, you know, they're probably not going to do it in Shanghai and Fremont at the same time, but you could see them shutting down lines. There's a huge advantage to this. If they go to front and rear castings, it reduces the factory floor space used to produce Model 3 by, I don't know, 30, 50, 60%. And that means they can put more lines in of either more Model 3s or something else. Now, maybe that clears up enough space for the Gen 3 vehicle. I don't think they're going to make the Gen 3 vehicle in Fremont. I think they're going to make the Gen 3 vehicle in Texas. Or maybe they're just going to add another line of Model 3. Because they're going to, you know, that's going to lower the manufacturing cost another $2,000-$3,000 a vehicle. And then they're going to be able to lower the price a little bit more. And that exposes the. What did you think about connecting the dots exposing you? I thought that was funny. I responded to it. That was something on a tweet. I thought that was funny. Do I see stock buyback from Tesla this year? Oh my God. I don't care about stock buybacks. I don't care about dividends. I care about the company and the company's growth. Stock buybacks are something. That's a Gary Black question. That's a Gary Black, Alexandra. I don't know, maybe it's an Emmett Peppers question. I don't think Emmett cares that much about that either. Stock buyback does not matter. It's like such a small issue. It's so small compared to getting 4680 ramping. It's so small compared to where's the next Gigafactory going to be. It's so small compared to the Gen 3 vehicle. I don't spend any time at a mall. The only time I spend thinking about stock buybacks is when people ask me about them and I say, well, I don't think it's important. So Mark Plot says Tesla Highland vehicles testing in California. Tesla is apparently testing updated Model 3s. That doesn't mean it. Like, I don't think Tesla has ever said we have a Project Highland. I don't know why everybody thinks there is a Project Highland. It's just like we get this in our community. We get this like rampant speculation about things. And I'm not saying it isn't true. I'm just saying we don't really know that. Buyback ribs. That's not bad. Do I think the ramp of Cybertruck next year will be hyper fast relative to other vehicles? No. I think Cybertruck will ramp about the same as other vehicles. It will take 12 to 18 months to ramp. I think Elon has been very clear that they expect it to be challenging to produce Cybertruck in volume. Thank you, Francois Couture, for buying a shirt. Yeah, I suppose if you want to buy more Tesla stock, you shouldn't buy my shirts. If you're saving the money for buying Tesla stock. But, you know, if you want to buy a couple. Do I think Hardware 4 will make it to the Model Y? Well, I think once Hardware 4 is out, all the vehicles will switch to Hardware 4. But I don't think we won't be able to upgrade an existing vehicle. None of the Japanese OEMs are going to survive. None have a compelling EV or even plan one. Yeah, it doesn't look good for most legacy automakers, period. You know, Volkswagen's trying, but sort of half steps. Ford's trying. Maybe they're making progress. Mark Potashnik says 4 hours until SpaceX launch. There's a SpaceX Falcon 9 launch today. I want to say Amazonas Nexus. The weather, I'm right here. I mean, I'm really close to that. The weather does not look great. The weather forecast is not great. There's something like a, I don't know, 55% chance of launch. I wouldn't be surprised if they postpone it. And even if it does launch, I'm not sure we're gonna be able to see it from the ground because there's so much cloud cover. Or if we get to see it, we won't see much of it. What happens to Tesla if China and the US relations collapse? Exactly. I mean, that's an example of what can go wrong. Am I still living at the beach? I live 10-minute walk from the beach. I live a 10-minute walk from the beach in Cape Canaveral where I get a really good view, and I tend to walk over the beach and then walk about 20 minutes north to Jetty Park and watch launches from Jetty Park, which is one of the best places to watch launches from. So how far will the orbital test flight make it? I don't think I finished answering that question. The booster, the super heavy booster, will do a soft water landing in the Gulf, and the Starship will travel most of the way around the Earth. I'll probably launch a payload into orbit and then come back, like a dumb payload, and then come back and attempt to do a soft water landing, attempt to re-enter the atmosphere without burning up, and then do a soft water landing about 60 miles off the coast of Hawaii, maybe 60 kilometers. Do I think the financing will keep up with the demand to be able to buy electric vehicles? Yes. I think that, assuming that the Fed doesn't go nuts and raise rates again, I think the financing will be there. Yeah, please like this video. Please share this video. Please subscribe to the channel. Thanks for all that. When am I going to Starbase again? I answered that. Whenever there's a launch. Is Investor Day just an audio event? No, I believe Investor Day will be a YouTube stream, and there will be people in person, hopefully including me, although I don't have a ticket yet. I don't think anybody has a ticket yet. Wish you would quit selling merch and start what? I wish you would quit selling merch and start talking Tesla. Who are we talking about? Kathy Wood? I don't know who we're talking about. What's my workout? That's a fun question. Mateus asks, what's my workout? So I walk half an hour to the gym on the beach mostly. I work out. I do strength training for about an hour, and I walk back. I do this 5 or 6 days a week. I missed yesterday because I drove to see my kid. At the gym, Mondays I do upper body push exercises. Tuesday I do core exercises, sit-ups, back exercises, side exercises. Wednesdays I do upper body pull exercises, pulling things in. I'm not sure that that's the right way of doing it, but that's what I'm doing. It seems to be working for me. Thursday I do core exercises again. Friday I do leg work. Saturday I do core again. On days that I miss, I try to do planks at home. And I walk 30 minutes back from the gym. And then I go out 2-3 nights a week, sometimes 4 nights a week, country line dancing. And I get a lot of cardio from that. That's my workout. And I do feel, I don't think I've lost weight. I think I've been eating too much. But I think the diet is my problem right now. It's just the late night snacking. Cater King says, what's Tesla price going to be in 2030? That's when I plan to retire. Look, I think Tesla stock is going to be in the ballpark of $5,000 a share, but it could be 2,000. It could be 20,000. It could be 1,000. Like you get these charts, like you just don't know. It could go up, you get these crazy bounces up and down. You can't know what it's going to do. You can have a rough idea of where it's heading, but to predict on this date or where's it going to be this year, it's going to fluctuate between, I don't know, $1,000 and $5,000 a share. I don't know. Yeah, please check out. I'm going to be wrapping up in 15 minutes or less. And in 15 minutes, I'm going to start live streaming on the Daily Lie talking about the Chinese balloon. Alan Rodebush, what's my diet like? Okay, we're going to go to the diet. Oh, there was a question. What's my diet like? I eat a lot of vegetables. I skip breakfast. I take an acid reducer in the morning because I have something called a Shatsky ring. That's maybe too much information. You can look it up if you want. A narrowing of the esophagus sometimes. So I typically don't eat breakfast. I typically eat lunch and dinner. I eat a lot of vegetables. I eat some meat. I'm starting to think about eating less meat. I haven't persuaded myself one way or another on that. I make myself a tuna fish, onion, hummus salad a lot. Use a lot of olive oil. I basically throw vegetables in a frying pan with some kind of meat. Like my usual when I'm cooking. And then I snack on popcorn, usually with Kerrygold butter. And I snack on peanut butter and peanuts and nuts. So there are some very attractive women at line dancing. I'm not like people ask about the line dancing. I haven't had a girlfriend from line dancing yet. I don't think I've had a date from line dancing yet. I'm just making friends and meeting people, and I'm having fun, and maybe it'll turn into something at some point. I can hope. I think it's way better than dating apps. I can say that. Dating apps are hell. What caused me to leave New York for Florida? It was 2 things. 1, winter, and 2, winter. My then wife hated winter, and I'm really glad we got out for a variety of reasons. I think it was a very good move for us. Do I think Elon's meeting with McCarthy and the Biden administration had anything to do with the Model Y being reclassified? It's possible. I think it's a good question. I don't know the answer. Irwin Pie says Cybertruck four-wheel steering looks great. Do you think there will be stock for all Cybertruck variants? Yes, I do think that will be stock. I don't think they want to have manufacturing complexity by having two different versions of that. Cybertruck payload. I think they said it would be able to carry 3,500-pound payload capacity. I don't think that's changed. Oh, thank you, Team JG, for your support. Alan says, haven't seen anything on Cybertruck body manufactured. That would be good for Investor Day. Investor Day, they did not say they would be talking about Cybertruck. I don't think they're going to talk about Cybertruck for Investor Day. I don't think that's on the menu. I think they're going to talk about the Generation 3 vehicle, which is way more important for Tesla's future and for our future than Cybertruck. Cybertruck is fun. Cybertruck's going to be great. Cybertruck matters. But the Gen 3 vehicle is going to matter a lot more. They're going to make 1 million Cybertrucks a year, maybe down the road. And they're going to make 6 million Gen 3 vehicles down the road a year. So that vehicle is going to matter a lot more. Has Earl stopped bashing Elon? I have Earl muted. This Earl of Frunk Puppy is a character on Twitter. I have had Earl muted for a long time. I don't typically see his tweets. But usually people, when he goes nuts, people DM me and say, hey, look what Earl's doing. And they're not DMing me. So I guess he's not going crazy. Daniel says, when was the Cybertruck released? Until we see production of Cybertruck, we won't see a new high. I don't think those two things are connected. I think that that's misleading or misunderstanding. I think that Cybertruck might have a small boost to the share price, but what we typically see as Tesla, as long-term Tesla investors is there's like really good news and the stock goes down. I think Cybertruck production will be great news, but the market doesn't respond that way. Doesn't. Model S was a game-changing vehicle. Still one of the best vehicles ever made. You know, the 2012 Model S is still a great car. And I think it was Motor Trend Car of the Year in 2013 or something like that. That didn't move the stock much. FSD or more Tesla shares. Well, if you have $1 million in Tesla stock, then the $15,000 for FSD is not a big deal. I'll just say it that way. If you have $10 million in Tesla stock, buying FSD is not a significant part of your portfolio. So I think that FSD, I'll say this, I think that the long-term value of FSD, you buy FSD today for, say, $15,000, and they deliver Robotaxi 2024, and you start putting your vehicle in the Robotaxi fleet in 2025. And for the next 10 years, you make $50,000 a year on average. You make $500,000. Was it a good investment of $15,000? I'm going to say, yeah. I'm going to say that's a good number. You invest $15,000, you're getting $5,000. I think this is likely to happen. I have FSD on 2 of my vehicles, and I have it ordered on both I've ordered 2 Cybertrucks, and I have it ordered on both Cybertrucks. And I think they're all going to run as Robo. Well, I'm going to sell the Plaid. But my Model 3 and the 2 Cybertrucks are going to be run as Robotaxis. It's going to make me crazy amount of money. Just look at the questions in the chat. What's the terminal? Mark underscore, good question. What will the terminal cost of FSD be once they're like 95% sure it's ready to go? I think they're 95% sure now. I think the question is, what will the price of FSD be when it's really ready to go? When it's ready and when they're when they're running the Robotaxi network? And I think it's at least $100,000. Did I follow the funding secured case closely? No, I did not follow it. I've thought about looking back on it, but fundamentally it just doesn't interest me, and it really wasn't that big of an issue. I think the amount of money at stake was, like under $100 million, so it doesn't really matter for a $400 or $500 billion company. Do I think Tesla will make school buses? Eventually, they'll probably make school buses. I think eventually we're more likely to see that there will be smaller vehicles. Elon has talked about a robo van or robo bus that will serve in that form. We know if Hardware 3 will support robo-taxis. I expect Hardware 3 will support robo-taxis. Look, Elon is projecting it will be 200 or 300% safer than human. If humans can drive taxis, then robo-taxis that are safer than human will be able to drive robo-taxis. Is it possible it won't happen? Yeah. But if it doesn't happen, then the value added by upgrading to Hardware 4 will be so great, then they will upgrade vehicle. Then it will be worth it to upgrade to Hardware 4. So they're convinced that upgrading to Hardware 4 won't be necessary because the vehicles will be capable of being robo-taxis. That's my take on it. I could be wrong. I mean, that's one of those small risks that we all take. I will still own a car that drives itself and will let me, not pay attention to the road while it's driving. Um, what if Hardware 3 can't handle? I think Hardware 3 will. I just think Hardware 3 will handle Robotech. What if it doesn't handle it? Then the next generation vehicles will, and you don't get the look. It's a bet when you pay $15,000 for it. Oh, Richard Angot, I love this question. What are you looking for in a date? I would say rather than what am I looking for in a date, what I'm looking for is a long-term relationship, ultimately marriage or the equivalent of marriage and children. And so I'm looking for somebody who wants a long-term relationship. Fundamentally, like on a first date, like my standard is, do I like her and does she seem to like me? Because if we don't like each other, there's not much point in a second date, right? So do we like each other? Do we have a good conversation? Um, long term, I want somebody who's going to help me live a healthy life. Like I'm a little bit older. I'm looking for somebody younger. I want somebody who can have kids. So that's kind of harsh, but I want somebody who's under 40, really 35-ish would be better. I want somebody who's interesting. I want somebody who's, you know, um, got a good head on their shoulders, smart, wise, not careless, not doesn't make somebody who doesn't smoke cigarettes, somebody who doesn't vape, somebody who doesn't do drugs much. Is a little marijuana okay? I suppose so. Somebody doesn't use drugs that are going to affect the baby. Doesn't have a lifestyle that's going to affect the baby in the womb. Those are important things. I was talking to somebody yesterday who said she wouldn't date somebody who was vaccinated. And I'm like, yeah, look, I don't think the vaccine was a good choice for a lot of people, but I'm not making dating decisions based on it. Uh, I think a lot of people are. I'm surprised how many people are. I see it in dating app profiles. Why don't all Megapack installs have solar roofs above them? I think that I honestly think that's a good question. I don't know the answer to that question. I think that the size of that solar farm would be relatively small. The size of the solar panels over a Megapack installation would be relatively small, and solar farms are typically much larger than that. Jupiter James says, could Tesla outline its plan for robotaxi business at the investor day? I don't think that's. I'm not saying this is impossible, but I don't think that's the plan. I don't think that's going to be part of investor day. How are we doing on time? We got about 5 minutes left. Yeah, Mark Collins says, I expect she wants somebody under 40 as well. Yeah, this is a challenge. This is a challenge. Finding a woman who has similar goals, who's under 40, she's probably not going to want a guy in his 50s. That's a big challenge for me. And I've just sort of accepted that I may make the decision to just have kids on my own with a surrogate as a single father, and then the age of the woman doesn't matter. I need a girl from the Midwest. Does Buffalo count as the Midwest? Oh, Neil's asking about a date. I'll talk to you about that privately, Neil. The date hasn't happened yet, so. Hardware 4 might include different cameras and sensors as well, so no practical upgrade. I think it depends. If the value creation of upgrading to Hardware 4, if Hardware 3 can't do Robotaxi and Hardware 4 can, and the value of Robotaxi is $500,000, the effective value of Robotaxi is $500,000, then it'll be worth spending $20,000 to upgrade to Hardware 4. So I think the theory is that they're confident Hardware 3 will be good enough for Robotaxi, so nobody's going to bother upgrading to Hardware 4. That's my take on it. So, yeah, just Mark Plot, thank you for mentioning this again. Merch at elonbits.com. T-shirts like the Discriminate Cogitandi, my favorite T-shirt, the Tesla Man T-shirt, the Impossible, Turning the Possible into Late, and of course the Tesla Air T-shirt, and the stainless steel water bottles. elonbits.com. I use all this stuff. I love all this stuff. I wear it all the time. This means critical thinking in Latin, particularly important for what we talked about today and what I'm going to talk about in the next video on the Locals platform, warrenredlich.locals.com. Link in the top of the chat in the description below. And we're going to talk about the Chinese balloon today and critical thinking about whether this Chinese balloon thing really matters or whether it's a distraction from, I don't know, some public health issue, some other things that they don't want to talk about. Ken says, well, I'm looking for a good butt in a date. I do prefer fit women. I do prefer women who are in reasonable shape. Because I want somebody who's going to motivate me to be in shape. How on earth would anyone check what? Have I read 3%? Man, I've read so many books about dating. Oh, it's just awful. There's so much crap. There's so many misleading things out there. There's so much misogyny out there in books about dating. Yeah, funny. Um, Anthony Davis says, I want hardware 3 or 4 to be able to visualize and negotiate speed bumps. Hardware 3 already does see speed bumps. My car was seeing speed bumps, I don't know, 6 months ago. I don't It's not the highest priority. The highest priority for Tesla is avoiding crashes. I don't think we're getting HVAC on March 1st, but it is a possibility. Would I consider a lesbian couple to date? I'm not sure what you mean by that. I guess I wouldn't rule it out, but I'm not sure how that works. They're lesbian. Why do they want to date me? Are you using Starlink up there? What kind of speeds are you getting? I used Starlink briefly in my cabin. I got good speeds. But I'm living in a place that has internet for $70 a month. So I don't want to pay $120 a month when I can get it for $70 a month. I have my Starlink antenna still. I'm planning on building a new home. What's massage and knee mean? I don't know what that refers to. Oh, misogyny. I don't know if Captain Chuck is kidding or not. Misogyny is basically like hating women. Um, all right. I'm going to wrap up now, and I'm going to head over to the Daily Lie in a few minutes where I'm going to talk about the Chinese balloon. So, and how to think about that. It won't be a long video. It's probably going to be 15, 20 minutes long. And I want to thank, you need spur. Um, check out the t-shirts at elonbits.com. Merch. Please support me on the Locals platform in particular. Come over to the Locals platform to watch the Chinese balloon thing, warrenredlick.locals.com. Support me on Patreon. Support me as a YouTube channel member. Check out my other videos. Please like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe. And thank you so much for watching. And thank you to the moderators, Mark, Jim,